wrinkled napkin could hold so much courage. Luna Carter adjusted the simple black dress she borrowed from her roommate, feeling the weight of every dollar she didn't have in her bank account. The hospital's annual charity dinner buzzed around her with conversations about stock portfolios and vacation homes in the Hamptons, while she calculated how many pharmacy shifts it would take to buy groceries this week. At 24, Luna had mastered the art of belonging without fitting in. Her dark skin glowed under the chandeliers, and her natural hair was pulled back in an elegant twist that took 20 minutes and $0 to achieve. She moved through the crowd with quiet confidence, nodding politely at doctors who knew her as the intern from pediatrics and socialites who didn't know her at all. "Another champagne, miss?" A waiter appeared beside her. "Just water, please." Luna smiled, accepting the crystal glass. She'd learned that holding something made her look less out of place. The ballroom of the Meridian Hotel sparkled with the kind of wealth that made her student loans feel even heavier. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, downtown Seattle's lights twinkled like earthbound stars. Luna pulled out her phone and snapped a quick photo of the reflection dancing across her water glass. Later, she'd post it on Instagram with a simple caption about finding light in unexpected places. Her 847 followers had grown to appreciate her quiet poetry and pictures. The view's better from the terrace. Luna turned to find a man standing a respectful distance away, his hands clasped behind his back. He was tall, probably mid-30s, with the kind of understated elegance that whispered money rather than shouted it. His dark hair was perfectly styled, but his eyes held something warmer than the typical charity dinner crowd, something almost tired. "I'm sorry?" Luna asked, not because she hadn't heard him, but because men at these events rarely spoke to her without an agenda. The city view, from outside, he gestured toward the terrace doors. Less crowded, too. Luna studied his face. No wedding ring, no predatory smile, just a genuine suggestion and patient eyes waiting for her answer. "I'm Julian," he said, extending his hand. "Julian Holt." "Luna." She shook his hand, surprised by how warm his palm felt against hers. "Luna Carter." Recognition flickered in his expression, though he tried to hide it. Luna had heard whispers about Julian Holt, the hospitality mogul who'd turned a single boutique hotel into an empire spanning 3 continents. Forbes had called him the man who redefined luxury travel. But standing here, he just looked like someone seeking refuge from small talk. "Would you like to see that view, Luna?" His voice carried the faintest hint of an accent she couldn't place. She glanced back at the crowded ballroom, where Dr. Bennett was probably wondering where his intern had disappeared to, then at the terrace doors, promising cool air and honest conversation. "Lead the way." The Seattle evening embraced them with a gentle breeze that carried the scent of rain and possibilities. The terrace was empty, except for a few scattered couples lost in their own conversations. City lights stretched out below them like a constellation map, and Luna immediately understood what Julian meant. The view was breathtaking. "Much better," she murmured, moving to the stone railing. "You looked like you needed rescuing." Julian joined her, maintaining that same respectful distance. "From what?" "The same thing I needed rescuing from." Conversations about tax shelters and yacht club memberships. Luna laughed, a genuine sound that surprised them both. "So you saw through my convincing act of belonging. Your act was perfect. It was the relief in your eyes when you stepped outside that gave you away." They stood in comfortable silence, watching traffic move like blood cells through the city's arteries. Luna noticed how Julian's shoulders seemed to relax out here, away from the performance required inside. "What do you do, Luna?" he asked. "Besides rescue people from boring charity dinners, I work at a pharmacy in Capitol Hill during the day, and I'm doing my medical internship at Seattle Children's." She paused, wondering if she should mention the student debt that kept her awake at night, or the studio apartment she shared with 2 roommates. "What about you? Besides throwing boring charity dinners?" Julian smiled. "I didn't throw this one. I just write the checks. Generous checks, I'm guessing. Money's easy to give when you have it. Time is harder." He turned to face her more fully. "You're studying to be a doctor. Pediatrics? I want to work with kids who don't have enough." Luna felt heat rise in her cheeks. "Sorry, that sounds preachy." "It sounds honest." Julian's eyes held hers. "In my experience, honesty is rarer than generosity." A comfortable quiet settled between them again. Luna found herself studying his profile, the strong jaw, the way his eyes crinkled slightly when he smiled, the careful way he seemed to choose each word. "Can I ask you something?" Luna said, surprising herself with her boldness. "Anything. Why did you really invite me out here?" Julian was quiet for a long moment, his fingers drumming softly against the railing. Because in there, you were the only person who looked at the city lights instead of the designer dresses. Luna felt something flutter in her chest, a sensation both thrilling and terrifying. And that matters because? Because I've spent 10 years in rooms full of people who've forgotten how to see beautiful things. He turned to face her completely now, his expression serious. And because I'd like to see you again, away from all this. The honesty in his voice made Luna's breath catch. She looked down at the cocktail napkin she'd been unconsciously twisting in her hands, using it like a worry stone. This was the moment, the crossroads, where she could smile politely and return to her safe, predictable world, or step into something unknown. She took a deep breath, feeling the cool evening air fill her lungs. "If you want to see me again," she said softly, stepping slightly closer, "you should know something about me first." Her heart hammered against her ribs, but she kept her voice steady. "I'm not like the other women you probably date. I've never been with anyone." Not like that. The words hung in the air between them, vulnerable and brave. Luna watched Julian's face carefully, waiting for the polite retreat. The sudden remembrance of somewhere else he needed to be. Instead, he reached out and gently took the napkin from her hands, his fingers brushing hers. "Then let me earn the right to discover you," he said quietly, his voice rough with something that sounded like reverence. "However long that takes, however patient I need to be." He smiled, and Luna saw something shift in his eyes. Something that looked like wonder. "I want to know everything about you, Luna Carter, and I want to do it right." In that moment, with the Seattle skyline as their witness and the promise of something beautiful hanging in the air between them, Luna realized her heart had already begun to trust this unexpected man, and somewhere in the careful space between his words, Julian Holt's heart quietly broke open, making room for a love he'd never dared to imagine. What would you do if someone offered to love you exactly as you are, at exactly your own pace? 3 days passed before Luna found the courage to save his number in her phone. She stared at the business card Julian had pressed into her palm before they parted ways on the terrace, his elegant script reading simply Julian Holt with a phone number below. No corporate title, no flashy logo, just his name, as if that was all that mattered. Luna sat cross-legged on her narrow twin bed in the studio apartment she shared with her roommates, Maya and Sophia. Through the thin walls, she could hear Maya's nursing textbooks being aggressively highlighted and Sophia practicing Spanish conjugations for her teaching credential program, all three of them chasing dreams that felt simultaneously within reach and impossibly far away. Her phone buzzed with a text from her mom in Portland. "How was the fancy dinner, baby girl? Did you meet any nice doctors?" Luna smiled, typing back, "Something like that." But her thumb hovered over Julian's contact information. What did a billionaire hotel mogul text about? Stock reports, board meetings, private jets? Finally, she typed, "Hi, it's Luna from the terrace. Hope your week is going well." Simple, safe, honest. Her phone rang within 2 minutes. "Luna?" His voice was warm, carrying that same quiet confidence from the charity dinner. "I was hoping you'd reach out. Were you?" She tucked her legs under her, suddenly aware that she was wearing her oldest pajama pants with tiny coffee cups printed on them. "I've been thinking about our conversation, about what you said." Luna's stomach fluttered. Which part? All of it, but especially the brave part. There was a pause, and she could almost see him choosing his words carefully. "I keep thinking about how you trusted me with something so personal. In a world where people hide behind filters and facades, you chose honesty. It felt important that you knew. It was important, and I want you to know that I meant what I said. Every word." Luna closed her eyes, letting his voice wash over her. "Julian?" "Yes? What do you actually do when you're not writing checks for charity dinners?" His laugh was low and genuine. "Right now, I'm sitting in my office at 11 p.m., looking at acquisition reports for a hotel in Barcelona and wishing I was somewhere else entirely. Where would you rather be?" "Honestly, on that terrace with you, watching the city lights." Luna felt heat bloom in her chest. That's a very smooth answer. It's also true. She could hear papers rustling in the background. "What about you? What does Luna Carter do when she's not saving the world one prescription at a time?" "I take pictures of random things and post them on Instagram with captions that probably sound pretentious." "Show me." Luna hesitated. Her Instagram wasn't polished or curated like the influencers with millions of followers. It was just her. "It's nothing special. I doubt that very much." 20 minutes later, Luna found herself walking Julian through her recent posts via text message. A photo of steam rising from her coffee mug at 5 a.m. Before her pharmacy shift, another of her reflection caught in the window of the bus on her way to the hospital. The shadow of a child's drawing taped to the pediatric ward wall. "These are beautiful," he texted. "You see poetry in ordinary moments. You're just being nice." Her phone rang again. "Luna, I need you to understand something." His voice was serious now. "I don't do nice for the sake of it. I've spent years surrounded by people who say what they think I want to hear. What you do, finding beauty in a bus window reflection, in a child's crayon drawing that's not ordinary, that's extraordinary." Luna was quiet for a moment, absorbing his words. "You really think so?" "I know so. And I'd like to see the world through your eyes. If you'll let me." "What does that mean?" "It means I'd like to take you to dinner somewhere without charity auctions or networking opportunities. Just us, talking about things that matter." Luna's heart raced. "I'd like that. Saturday? I work at the pharmacy until 6. "Perfect. I'll pick you up at 7. Text me your address." After they hung up, Luna stared at her reflection in her phone's black screen. A real date with Julian Holt. The same man who graced the covers of business magazines and owned hotels in cities she'd only seen in movies. Her phone buzzed. "Luna, wear whatever makes you feel like yourself. I'm not interested in impressing anyone else." Saturday arrived with the kind of Seattle drizzle that made everything look softer around the edges. Luna changed clothes 3 times before settling on dark jeans, a cream sweater her mom had knitted for her birthday, and the only pair of boots she owned that didn't have scuff marks. At exactly 7 p.m., a text arrived. "I'm outside." Luna grabbed her jacket and headed downstairs, expecting to see a sleek black sedan or maybe a Tesla. Instead, she found Julian leaning against a navy blue pickup truck, hands in his pockets, looking nothing like the billionaire from the magazine covers. "You look perfect," he said, opening the passenger door for her. "This is not what I expected you to drive," Luna said, settling into the surprisingly comfortable seat. Julian smiled as he started the engine. "What did you expect? Something with a driver, and definitely more expensive. I save the expensive cars for people I'm trying to impress. Tonight, I just want to be myself." He drove them to a small Italian restaurant in Fremont, the kind of place with mismatched chairs and wine served in mason jars. The hostess greeted Julian by name, leading them to a corner table where candles flickered in old wine bottles. "You come here often?" Luna asked, shrugging out of her jacket. "When I need to remember what real food tastes like." Julian settled across from her, and Luna noticed how his shoulders seemed to relax, just like they had on the terrace. The owner, Mrs. Rated, Romano, an elderly woman with silver hair and a flour-dusted apron, appeared at their table. "Julian Bambino," she said, reaching up to pinch his cheek like he was 12 years old instead of 35. "You're too skinny. And who is this beautiful girl?" "Mrs. Romano. This is Luna." "Luna. This is the woman who makes the best ragu in the Pacific Northwest." "Piacere, Luna." Mrs. Romano studied her with sharp, kind eyes. "You have good taste in men. This one, he has a good heart. Sometimes he forgets to eat. But good heart." After she bustled away with their order, apparently, Mrs. Romano didn't believe in menus. Luna looked at Julian with new curiosity. "She treats you like family. She knew my grandmother. My Nonna used to bring me here when I was a kid." "Before," he trailed off, something shifting in his expression. "Before what?" "Before my world got complicated." Julian met her eyes. "I like that you ask real questions, Luna. Most people are afraid to." "I'm not most people." "No," he said softly, reaching across the table to brush his fingers against hers. "You're definitely not." The gesture was simple, innocent, but Luna felt it like electricity. She didn't pull away, and neither did he. "Tell me about your family," she said. "Small, just me now. My parents died in a car accident when I was 16. My grandmother raised me until she passed 5 years ago." His thumb traced gentle circles on her knuckles. "What about yours?" "Mom's in Portland. She's a social worker. Dad left when I was 8, but honestly, we're better off without him." Luna surprised herself with the honesty. "Mom worked 2 jobs to put me through college. I'm the first in my family to graduate." "That's incredible." "She's incredible. I just hope I can pay her back someday." "Luna," Julian's voice was gentle but firm, "you don't owe anyone anything for being loved." The words hit her like a physical force, and she had to look away, blinking back unexpected tears. "Hey," he said softly. "What did I say?" "Nothing wrong. It's just, Sometimes I forget that love isn't supposed to come with debts attached. Julian was quiet for a long moment, his thumb still tracing those gentle patterns on her hand. Your turn to ask me a real question, he said finally. Luna studied his face, the careful way he held himself, the shadows that lingered in his eyes despite his smile. What are you afraid of, Julian Holt? The question hung between them like a bridge, daring him to cross it. He was quiet so long that Luna wondered if she'd pushed too far. Then, I'm afraid of wanting something so much that losing it would break me completely. The honesty in his voice made Luna's breath catch. And what do you want? She whispered. His eyes found hers across the candlelit table, and in them, she saw something that looked like wonder mixed with terror. I think I'm starting to figure that out. The text arrived at 6:47 a.m., just as Luna was rushing to catch the bus to her pharmacy shift. Good morning. I know you're probably running late, but I wanted you to know I haven't stopped thinking about last night. Luna paused on the sidewalk, her breath visible in the crisp Seattle morning air. Around her, the city was waking up. Coffee shop workers unlocking doors, early commuters clutching travel mugs, the familiar hum of a world in motion. But for a moment, everything felt suspended. I keep thinking about it, too, she typed back, then hesitated before adding, especially what you said about wanting something. 3 dots appeared immediately, then disappeared, then appeared again. Can I see you tonight? I want to cook for you. Luna's eyebrows shot up. You cook? I'm learning. Fair warning, it might be terrible. Despite everything, the early hour, the stress of another 12-hour day ahead, the weight of her student loans, Luna found herself smiling. I love terrible cooking. What time? That evening, Luna stood outside the address Julian had sent her, double-checking the number on her phone. The building was elegant but understated, the kind of place where doormen wore subtle suits instead of flashy uniforms. Through the lobby's floor-to-ceiling windows, she could see abstract art and fresh orchids arranged with casual precision. You must be Luna. The doorman, a man in his 60 seconds with kind eyes, smiled warmly. Mr. Holt is expecting you. 23rd floor. In the elevator, Luna caught her reflection in the polished steel doors. She'd changed out of her pharmacy scrubs into dark jeans and a soft burgundy sweater, adding the silver necklace her mom had given her for graduation. Simple, but it felt like her. The elevator opened directly into Julian's apartment, and Luna stepped into a space that took her breath away. Floor-to-ceiling windows showcased the Seattle skyline at golden hour, while warm wood floors and carefully chosen furniture created an atmosphere that was luxurious but somehow still felt like home. Luna! Julian appeared from what she assumed was the kitchen, wearing dark jeans and a gray Henley. His sleeves rolled up to reveal strong forearms. You found it okay. Your building has a doorman who knows my name. I felt very fancy. Henry is great. He's worked here longer than I've lived here. Julian moved closer, and Luna caught the scent of something delicious, wafting from the kitchen. How was your day? Long. Mrs. Thompson came in asking for her husband's heart medication, but he passed away 3 months ago. She does this sometimes when she's lonely. Luna shrugged off her jacket. How was your day? Any billion-dollar deals? Just one. His smile was teasing, but I kept getting distracted thinking about a certain pharmacy technician intern. Luna corrected. And you're terrible at flirting. I'm learning that, too. He led her toward the kitchen, which was clearly the heart of the apartment. Unlike the rest of the space, this room showed signs of actual use. Cookbook pages marked with flower fingerprints, a grocery bag from Pike Place Market on the counter, and the unmistakable chaos of someone who was definitely still learning to cook. What's the damage? Luna asked, surveying the scene. I attempted pasta carbonara. The first batch, he gestured toward the sink where a pan was soaking. Let's just say I learned that eggs can scramble in ways I didn't know were possible. Luna laughed, a real laugh that filled the space between them. Want some help? I was hoping you'd ask. They worked side by side, Luna's smaller hands guiding his as they whisked eggs and grated Parmesan. She showed him how to temper the mixture, her body warm against his side as she demonstrated the technique. The intimacy was casual, comfortable, like they'd done this 100 times before. Where did you learn to cook? Julian asked, watching her efficient movements. Necessity. When Mom was working double shifts, I had to figure out how to feed myself. Luna tasted the sauce, adding a pinch more pepper. Plus, it's calming. There's something about creating something good with your hands. I never learned, growing up. We had people for that. What about your grandmother? Mrs. Romano said she knew her. Julian's hand stilled on the pasta he was draining. Nana tried to teach me when I moved in with her. But I was angry about everything. 16, rebellious, convinced the world owed me something. He set the pot aside. I wish I'd paid attention. She made the most incredible Sunday dinners. Luna heard the regret in his voice, the weight of missed opportunities. Without thinking, she reached out and touched his arm. Tell me about her, Amelia Holt. She was tiny, barely 5 feet. But she could silence a room with one look. His smile was soft with memory. She spoke 4 languages, read everything, and never met a stray dog she wouldn't bring home. After my parents died, she basically moved mountains to become my guardian. She sounds amazing. She would have loved you. The words came out quiet, like he hadn't meant to say them aloud. She always said the best people were the ones who saw magic in ordinary things. They moved to the dining table by the windows, the city lights beginning to twinkle as dusk settled over Seattle. The pasta was actually perfect, creamy and rich, and Luna made appreciative sounds that made Julian's chest swell with pride. So what happens now? Luna asked, twirling carbonara around her fork. With us, I mean. What do you want to happen? Luna was quiet for a moment, considering. I want to keep getting to know you. But slowly. Really slowly. Define slowly. I don't know. I've never done this before, remember? She met his eyes across the table. I just know that when I'm with you, I feel like I can breathe deeper. Like there's more space in the world for me to exist. Julian reached across the table, his fingers finding hers. I want you to feel safe with me, Luna. Always. That means going at whatever pace feels right to you, even if it takes months, even if it takes years. The certainty in his voice made something tight in Luna's chest finally loosen. Can I ask you something? She said. Always. Why me? You could have anyone. Models, actresses, other billionaires' daughters. Julian was quiet for a long moment, his thumb tracing patterns on her knuckles, a gesture that was already becoming familiar. Last month, I went to a gallery opening in Manhattan. 200 people. All of them wanting something from me. Business deals, donations, introductions. He paused, his eyes finding hers. I spent 3 hours surrounded by people, and I felt completely alone. Then I met you on a terrace, and for the first time in years, I felt like someone was actually seeing me. I see you, Luna said softly. I know, and I see you too. The way you light up when you talk about your mom. How you take pictures of shadows and reflections because you find beauty where other people see emptiness. The way you trusted me with something precious on our first night together. Luna felt tears prick her eyes. Julian, I'm not going anywhere. Luna, however long this takes, however patient I need to be, I'm here. Later, as they stood by his window looking out at the city, Luna leaned against his side. Julian's arm came around her shoulders, careful and reverent, like he was holding something made of spun glass. What are you thinking about? He asked. How different this feels from what I imagined. Different how? Luna was quiet for a moment, watching traffic move like rivers of light below them. I always thought when I met someone it would feel urgent, desperate, like I was drowning and they were air. She tilted her head to look at him. But this feels like coming home to myself. Julian's arm tightened around her, and when she looked up, she saw something fierce and tender in his expression. You have no idea how long I've been waiting for someone to say something like that to me. In the comfortable silence that followed, surrounded by city lights and the promise of unhurried time, both of them began to understand that they were building something rare, a love without pressure, without timelines, without anything but the simple desire to know each other completely. Luna discovered that falling for someone felt a lot like learning a new language. 3 weeks into whatever they were calling this, she found herself fluent in Julian's particular vocabulary of care, the way he texted drive safe every morning before her commute, even though she took the bus. How he remembered she had clinical rotations on Thursdays and sent photos of dogs he saw during his morning runs to make her smile. The careful way he asked, "How are you feeling?" instead of, "How are you?" as if he understood that her emotions deserved their own separate inquiry. This morning, her phone buzzed as she was restocking inventory at Morningside Pharmacy. "I have a weird request," Julian texted. Luna smiled, typing back between customers. "Weird how? Can I pick you up from work today? I want to show you something. Should I be concerned? Only if you're afraid of very old books and mediocre coffee." At exactly 6 p.m., Luna spotted Julian's Navy pickup truck outside the pharmacy. Through the window, she could see him reading something, his brow furrowed in concentration. The sight of him waiting for her, this powerful man who commanded boardrooms and owned properties across continents, made her heart do something complicated and wonderful. "Hey," she said, sliding into the passenger seat. "What's the mystery destination?" "Elliott Bay Book Company. There's something I want you to see." Luna raised an eyebrow. "You're taking me to a bookstore?" "Trust me." The iconic bookstore buzzed with its usual evening energy. Students bent over laptops in the cafe, couples browsing fiction hand in hand, the comforting sound of pages turning and coffee brewing. Julian led her through the maze of shelves with surprising familiarity, past new releases and bestsellers toward a quieter section in the back. "Here," he said, stopping in front of a display case filled with rare and antique books. Luna leaned closer, studying the carefully preserved volumes. "They're beautiful. But I don't understand. Look at the third book from the left. The blue leather one." Luna's eyes found it immediately. Poems for Ordinary Moments by Amelia Starling. First edition. 1,950. 2. Julian. Luna's voice was barely a whisper. Amelia Starling was my grandmother's pen name. She published 3 volumes of poetry before she met my grandfather and focused on raising their family. Julian moved closer, his voice soft with memory. This was her most successful collection. She wrote about finding extraordinary beauty in everyday life. Luna pressed her hand to the glass, reading the visible lines of poetry through the case. "In morning light, through kitchen windows, in children's laughter from the yard, in the gentle way we learn to love the ordinary, sacred." "She would have understood your Instagram posts," Julian continued. "The way you see poetry and coffee steam and bus reflections, you have the same eye she did." Luna turned to face him, tears threatening. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because I wanted you to know that the way you see the world, it's not ordinary. It's a gift. And it's the same gift that made my grandmother's words matter to thousands of people." Luna stared back at the book, overwhelmed. "I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything. I just wanted you to see that there's a lineage of women who find magic in the mundane. You belong to something beautiful, Luna." They stood in comfortable silence, both lost in their own thoughts, until Luna felt a gentle touch on her shoulder. "Luna Carter." Luna turned to find Dr. Ellison, the head of pediatrics at Seattle Children's, approaching with a warm smile. He was a distinguished man in his 60 seconds with silver hair and the kind of presence that immediately put children at ease. "Dr. Ellison," Luna said, surprised. "What are you doing here?" "Monthly ritual. My wife insists I need hobbies beyond medicine." His eyes shifted curiously to Julian. "And you are?" "Julian Holt." Julian extended his hand. "It's nice to meet you." Recognition flickered across Dr. Ellison's face. "The Julian Holt from Holt Hospitality." "The same." "Well, Dr. Ellison looked between them with growing interest. "Luna, you didn't mention you knew our hospital's most generous benefactor." Luna's eyes widened. "What?" "The Holt Foundation has funded 3 new pediatric wings in the past 5 years." Dr. Ellison explained, "including the new family comfort suites at our hospital." Luna stared at Julian, who suddenly looked uncomfortable. "You didn't tell me." "It's not something I talk about," Julian said quietly. "Modest, too." Dr. Ellison chuckled. "Luna, this young man's contributions have allowed us to provide private spaces for families during difficult times. Parents can stay overnight with their children in actual beds instead of sleeping in chairs." "Dr. Ellison," Julian said gently, "I think you're embarrassing both of us." "Nonsense. Good deeds should be celebrated." The older man smiled warmly at Luna. "Though I will say, seeing you two together makes perfect sense. You both understand that healing happens in the details." After Dr. Ellison excused himself to find his wife, Luna and Julian walked to the cafe in charged silence. Luna ordered her usual coffee while Julian got tea, and they found a corner table away from the evening crowd. "So," Luna said finally, "family comfort suites." "Luna, don't. You dare act like it's not a big deal." Luna leaned forward, her voice intense. "Do you know what it's like for a parent to watch their child fight for their life while sleeping in a hospital chair for weeks? And you created spaces where they can actually rest, actually be human while their world is falling apart." Julian looked down at his tea, uncomfortable with her praise. "I just write checks, Luna. You're the one actually helping those kids get better. You write checks that change lives." Luna reached across the table, taking his hand. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I didn't want you to think differently about me." "How would I think differently?" Julian was quiet for a long moment, his fingers intertwining with hers. "Because most people, when they find out about the money, about what I can do, They start wanting things, they start seeing opportunities instead of just seeing me. And you thought I would do that? No. But I was afraid. His eyes met hers. I've never had something I was this afraid of losing. Luna felt her heart crack open a little wider. Julian, look at me. He did, and she saw vulnerability there that took her breath away. I fell for the man who drives a pickup truck and burns pasta and asks permission before he holds my hand. The money, the philanthropy. It tells me you have a good heart, but it's not why I'm here. Why are you here? Luna was quiet for a moment, considering. Around them, the bookstore hummed with quiet conversations and the rustle of pages. The scent of coffee and old books created an atmosphere of safety, of possibility. Because when I'm with you, I remember who I wanted to be before the world taught me to make myself smaller. She squeezed his hand. And because you make me feel brave enough to take up space. Julian brought her hand to his lips, pressing a gentle kiss to her knuckles. You make me remember what it feels like to be human instead of just successful. We are quite a pair, aren't we? The best kind. As they left the bookstore later, Luna's mind wandered back to the poetry collection in the display case. In the gentle way we learn to love the ordinary sacred. Julian, your grandmother's book. Do you have a copy? Several. Why? I'd like to read it sometime, if that's okay. Julian stopped walking, turning to face her fully. In the glow of the streetlights, his expression was soft with something that looked like wonder. I'd love that. Actually, he paused, seeming to gather courage. Would you like to come to my place this weekend? I could make us dinner, and I could show you more of her work. She kept journals, wrote letters. I'd love that. Fair warning. I might actually succeed at cooking this time. Luna stood on her tiptoes, pressing a soft kiss to his cheek. It was the first time she'd initiated physical contact, and she felt him go still with surprise and something deeper. I'm not afraid of your success, Julian Holt, she whispered against his ear. In the kitchen or anywhere else. As they walked back to his truck, hands linked and hearts full, neither of them noticed that the careful walls they'd both built around their hearts were beginning to crumble in the most beautiful way possible, and somewhere in the space between her growing courage and his deepening trust, they both began to understand that love wasn't about perfect timing or ideal circumstances. Sometimes, it was about finding someone brave enough to see you completely and choosing to let them. Sometimes, the hardest conversations happen in the quietest moments. Luna stood in her shared bathroom on Friday night, staring at her reflection while Maya's blow-dryer hummed through the thin walls. Tomorrow, she would spend the entire day at Julian's apartment, their first real stretch of uninterrupted time together. The thought thrilled and terrified her in equal measure. Her phone buzzed. Still good for tomorrow? No pressure if you've changed your mind. Even in text, she could hear his careful consideration, the way he always left her an escape route. It made her want to be braver, not more cautious. More than good, she typed back. Should I bring anything? Just yourself, and maybe an appetite. I'm attempting something ambitious. Luna smiled. Look at you, living dangerously. You have no idea. Saturday morning arrived with the kind of Seattle sunshine that felt like a gift, rare and precious. Luna caught the bus to downtown, watching the city transform from the industrial neighborhoods near her apartment to the sleek glass towers where Julian lived. She'd packed an overnight bag, though they hadn't explicitly discussed her staying. It felt important to have options. Henry, the doorman, greeted her like an old friend. Good morning, Miss Luna. Mr. Holt's been cooking since dawn. The whole building smells like garlic and herbs. Should I be worried? Only if you don't like good food. He's been asking Mrs. Lynn on the 15th floor for advice all week. The elevator ride felt longer this time, Luna's heart beating in rhythm with the ascending floors. When the doors opened, she found Julian waiting, wearing dark jeans and a soft gray sweater. His hair slightly mussed, like he'd been running his hands through it. Hi, he said, and something in his voice made her think he'd been nervous, too. Hi, yourself. Luna stepped into his apartment, immediately noticing the transformation. Soft jazz played from hidden speakers, and the dining table was set with simple white plates and fresh flowers. Not the elaborate arrangements of their first dinner, but something that looked hand-picked from a farmer's market. You've been busy, she said, setting down her bag. I may have gone slightly overboard. Julian moved closer, his hands finding hers in that gentle way that was becoming second nature. How was your morning? Long. I kept thinking about seeing you. Something shifted in his expression. Surprise, maybe, or gratitude. Yeah? Yeah? Luna stood on her tiptoes, pressing a soft kiss to his cheek. What can I do to help? They moved through his kitchen like dancers, learning new steps. Luna chopping vegetables while Julian managed 3 different pots. She'd brought her phone to play music, and they found themselves moving to the rhythm of old soul songs, occasionally bumping hips or stealing tastes from each other's spoons. "This is really good," Luna said, sampling the sauce he'd been perfecting. "What's your secret?" "Mrs. Lynn's grandmother's recipe. Apparently, the key is patience and a pinch of something she calls kitchen love." "Kitchen love?" "The intention you put into feeding someone you care about." Julian paused, seeming to realize what he'd said. I know what you mean." Luna moved closer, her hand finding his arm. "And I care about you, too." The words hung in the air between them. Simple but significant. Neither of them had said anything close to love yet, but care felt like the first step toward something deeper. After lunch, which was surprisingly perfect, Julian led her to a room she hadn't seen before. His home office was lined with bookshelves, but these weren't business texts or hotel industry reports. These were novels, poetry collections, travel memoirs, and photo books from around the world. "I didn't know you were such a reader," Luna said, running her fingers along the spines. "Guilty pleasure. I used to read everything I could get my hands on as a kid." He pulled a leather-bound journal from a shelf. "These are my grandmother's, her poetry, but also her thoughts about life, love, travel." Luna accepted the journal reverently, opening to a random page. Amelia Holt's handwriting was elegant but hurried, as if her thoughts moved faster than her pen could follow. The best love letters are written in small moments, in remembered coffee preferences, in patient listening, in the way someone's eyes light up when they talk about their dreams. We think love is grand gestures, but it lives in the accumulation of gentle care. Luna read aloud. "She was wise. She would have liked you." Julian settled beside her on the window seat. "She always said the most interesting people were the ones who noticed things others missed." "Like what?" "Like how you remember that Mrs. Thompson comes to the pharmacy when she's lonely, or how you take pictures of shadows because you see beauty where other people see emptiness." Luna felt heat rise in her cheeks. "You notice a lot about me. I notice everything about you." The honesty in his voice made her breath catch. "The way you bite your lip when you're thinking, how you always order coffee with oat milk because dairy makes you sleepy, but you're too polite to mention it unless asked. The fact that you keep a small succulent on your desk at the pharmacy because you like having something alive and growing in sterile spaces." "Julian," Luna said, "I'm not trying to overwhelm you," he added quickly. "I just want you to know that I see you. Really see you." Luna set the journal aside and turned to face him fully. "Can I tell you something?" "Anything. I've never felt this way about anyone before. Not just because I haven't been physical with someone, but because I've never trusted someone enough to let them this close." She paused, gathering courage. "It scares me sometimes, how much I want to trust you completely." Julian was quiet for a long moment, his expression serious. "What would help you feel safer?" The question surprised her. Most people would have rushed to reassure her, to promise they'd never hurt her. Instead, he was asking what she needed. "Honestly, time, and knowing that you'll tell me if anything changes for you, if you get scared, or if this gets too complicated, or if you meet someone else." "Luna." Julian's voice was firm. "Look at me." She did, finding intensity in his dark eyes that made her heart race. "I'm not going anywhere. I'm not looking for anyone else. And if I ever get scared, which I probably will, because caring about someone this much is terrifying, I promise to talk to you about it instead of running away." "You promise?" "I promise." He reached out, cupping her face gently. "And if you get scared, I need you to promise to talk to me too. Don't disappear on me." "Okay. Okay." They spent the afternoon reading passages from Amelia's journals. Luna curled against Julian's side as golden light moved across the windows. His grandmother had written about her own courtship with his grandfather, about learning to trust someone with her heart, about the difference between passion and love. Passion burns bright and fast, love glows steady and warm. "I'm learning that the best relationships aren't built on fire, but on the gentle warmth that lets you both flourish." "Is that what we're doing?" Luna asked quietly. "Building something warm instead of just burning bright?" "I hope so." Julian's arm tightened around her. "Though I have to admit, you make me feel pretty combustible sometimes." Luna laughed, tilting her head to look at him. "Combustible? The way you smiled at me that first night on the terrace, the way you trusted me with something so personal, the way you let me hold you like this." His voice dropped lower. "It's like you lit a fire I didn't know I was capable of feeling." The air between them shifted, charged with something new. Luna found herself studying his mouth. wondering what it would feel like to kiss him properly. They'd shared gentle kisses on cheeks, had held hands and cuddled, but they hadn't crossed that particular line yet. "Julian? Yeah? I think I'd like to kiss you. Actually kiss you." His breath caught, and she saw something flicker in his eyes, want mixed with careful restraint. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure." He moved slowly, giving her time to change her mind, his hand sliding from her cheek to cradle the back of her neck. When their lips finally met, it was soft and sweet and perfect, a question and an answer all at once. Luna felt something bloom in her chest, warm and golden, and completely overwhelming. When they parted, she was breathless, her forehead resting against his. "Wow," she whispered. "Yeah," Julian agreed, his voice rough. "Wow." They stayed like that, holding each other as the sun set over Seattle, both of them understanding that something fundamental had shifted between them, not just physical attraction, but something deeper. "Luna, thank you for trusting me with this." "With you," she pulled back to look at him, seeing her own wonder reflected in his expression. "Thank you for being worth trusting." As evening painted the sky in shades of rose and gold, they both knew that whatever they were building together was worth every moment of patience, every careful step, every brave choice to let someone else see their heart. And in the quiet space between trust given and received, they discovered that the best kind of love wasn't about perfect timing or grand gestures. It was about two people choosing again and again to let each other in. Some weeks test everything you thought you knew about love. Luna's phone rang at 2:42 a.m. on a Tuesday, jolting her from deep sleep. Through the thin walls of her shared apartment, she could hear Maya groaning about being woken up. Luna fumbled for her phone, heart racing with the kind of panic that only came from middle-of-the-night calls. "Hello," she whispered, not recognizing the number. "Is this Luna Carter? This is Dr. Vargas from Portland General Hospital. I'm calling about your mother, Clara Carter." The world tilted sideways. 20 minutes later, Luna sat on the edge of her bed, still in her pajamas, trying to process the words car accident, surgery, and critical but stable. Her mom had been driving home from a late shift at the community center when a drunk driver ran a red light. Her hands shook as she dialed Julian's number, not caring that it was past 3 a.m. "Luna." His voice was immediately alert, concerned. "What's wrong?" "It's my mom." The words came out broken, barely coherent. "She's in the hospital in Portland. I have to go. I have to." "Okay, breathe. Tell me what happened." Luna tried to explain through tears, her voice catching on the medical terms she didn't fully understand. Julian listened without interrupting, and she could hear him moving around in the background. "I'm coming to get you," he said firmly. "Pack a bag, whatever you need for at least a week." "Julian, you don't have to." "Luna, I'm coming to get you. We'll drive to Portland together, okay? But your work, your meetings, they can wait. You're more important." 45 minutes later, Luna stood on the sidewalk outside her building with a hastily packed duffel bag, watching Julian's pickup truck approach through the pre-dawn darkness. He'd clearly thrown on the first clothes he could find: jeans, a wrinkled t-shirt, sneakers without socks. "Hey," he said softly, pulling her into his arms the moment she reached him. "How are you holding up?" "I don't know." "Scared." "What if she doesn't?" Luna's voice broke. "She's going to be okay. She's strong, like you." Julian held her tighter. "Come on, let's get you to her." The drive to Portland passed in a blur of highway lights and Luna's anxious chatter. Julian let her talk about everything and nothing. Childhood memories of her mom, worries about medical bills, the way her mom always hummed while cooking. He didn't try to fix anything, just listened and occasionally reached over to squeeze her hand. "Tell me about her," he said as they crossed into Oregon. "What's she like?" "She's..." Luna paused, trying to find words. "She's the kind of person who remembers everyone's birthday, who brings soup to sick neighbors she barely knows. She works with at-risk teenagers, and half of them end up calling her mom, too." Luna wiped her eyes. "She gave up so much for me, worked double shifts so I could go to college, never complained, even when I know she was exhausted. She sounds incredible." "She is. And if something happens to her before I can pay her back, before I can take care of her the way she took care of me..." Luna's voice broke again. "Hey." Julian pulled over at a rest stop, turning to face her fully. "Look at me. Your mom didn't sacrifice for you so you could spend your life feeling guilty. She did it because she loves you, because seeing you succeed is its own reward. How do you know? Because that's what love looks like, giving without keeping score. At Portland General, Luna barely remembered the walk through sterile corridors that smelled like disinfectant and fear. Julian stayed close but not intrusive, his presence a steady anchor in the chaos. Luna's mom looked so small in the hospital bed, surrounded by machines and wires. Her beautiful dark skin was pale, and there was a bandage covering part of her forehead. But her eyes were open and alert when Luna entered the room. "Baby girl," Clara whispered, her voice hoarse but warm. "What are you doing here? You should be in Seattle, studying." "Mom," Luna collapsed into the chair beside the bed, taking her mother's hand carefully. "Don't you dare worry about my studies right now." "I'm fine, honey. Just a few bumps and bruises." "Mom, you have a concussion, 3 broken ribs, and they had to operate on your spleen. That's not bumps and bruises." Clara's eyes shifted to Julian, who had been hanging back near the door. "And who is this handsome young man?" "This is Julian," Luna said, glancing back at him gratefully. "He drove me down here at 4 inches the morning." Clara studied Julian with the sharp eyes of a mother evaluating her daughter's romantic interest. "That's either very foolish or very sweet. I'm hoping for sweet." "Mom," Julian said, moving closer, "I'm glad to see you're awake." Luna was very worried. "Were you now?" Clara squeezed Luna's hand, her expression knowing this one doesn't worry unless something's really important to her. The next few days blurred together in a rhythm of hospital visits, insurance calls, and sleeping in uncomfortable chairs. Julian had booked them separate rooms at a hotel near the hospital, but Luna found herself knocking on his door each night, unable to bear being alone with her anxiety. "Can't sleep?" he asked the third night, opening his door to find her in pajamas and hotel slippers. "Every time I close my eyes, I see her in that hospital bed, looking so small." Luna wrapped her arms around herself. "Can I just sit with you for a while?" Of course, they ended up on his hotel bed. Luna curled against his side while he read aloud from one of his grandmother's journals he'd brought along. His voice was steady and comforting, and eventually, Luna's breathing evened out as she fell asleep against his shoulder. When she woke up hours later, she was covered with a blanket, and Julian was gone. She found him in the hotel lobby on a work call at 6 a.m., his voice low and professional, as he rearranged meetings and delegated responsibilities. "Reschedule the Barcelona presentation for next week. And can you handle the Morrison contract review?" "I'll be out of town for the rest of the week." Luna listened to him restructure his entire schedule without a single complaint, and something shifted in her chest. This man, this successful, powerful man, had dropped everything to drive her through the night to be with her mother. He'd slept in an uncomfortable chair, brought her coffee and hospital cafeteria sandwiches, and somehow made her feel less alone in the scariest week of her life. "You didn't have to do all that," she said when he finished his call. "Do what?" "Cancel your meetings. Rearrange your whole week." "Luna," Julian stood, moving closer, "there is nothing more important than making sure you're okay. My business will survive a week without me. You're what matters." The simple certainty in his voice broke something open in Luna's chest. She'd spent her whole life being careful not to need too much, not to ask for more than people could give. But here was this man offering his time, his presence, his steady strength, without her even having to ask. "I don't know how to let someone take care of me," she whispered. "You're learning, and you're doing great." That afternoon, Luna's mom was finally cleared to go home. As they helped her into Julian's truck, she'd insisted on being discharged to Luna's care rather than staying in Portland alone. Clara studied Julian with fresh appreciation. "You know," she said as he carefully adjusted her seatbelt, "Luna's never brought a boy home before, not even in high school." "Mom," Luna protested from the front seat. "I'm just saying," Clara smiled at Julian. "She's particular about who she lets into her world. The fact that you're here tells me everything I need to know about how she feels about you." "And how do you feel about him?" Luna asked, partly joking but partly serious. Clara was quiet for a moment, studying Julian as he started the engine and pulled carefully out of the hospital parking lot. "I think," she said finally, "that any man who drives through the night because my daughter is scared, who rearranges his whole life without being asked, who reads poetry in hospital waiting rooms, that's a man who understands what love looks like." Luna felt tears prick her eyes, not just from relief about her mom's recovery, but from something deeper. Sitting in that truck, driving north toward home with the two most important people in her world, she realized that this was what family felt like, not just blood relations, but chosen people who showed up when everything fell apart. "Thank you," she said quietly to Julian as they merged onto I-5. "For what?" "For showing up, for staying, for making me feel like I don't have to handle everything alone." Julian reached over, taking her hand and bringing it to his lips for a gentle kiss. "Thank you for letting me," he said. "For trusting me enough to let me be here for this." In the rearview mirror, Luna caught her mother's knowing smile, and she understood that some weeks didn't just test your love, they revealed its true depth. And sometimes, if you were very lucky, what you discovered was stronger and deeper than anything you dared to hope for. The most beautiful changes happen so slowly, you almost miss them. 2 months after her mother's accident, Luna found herself with a key to Julian's apartment and the surreal realization that, somewhere along the way, his space had become theirs. It wasn't a dramatic shift, no moving trucks or official conversations, just a gradual accumulation of her things in his drawers, her coffee mug next to his in the dishwasher, her medical textbooks spread across his dining table during late-night study sessions. This Thursday evening, Luna arrived from her rotation at the Children's Hospital to find Julian in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, wrestling with what appeared to be a very ambitious dinner preparation. "Please tell me you're not attempting soufflé," she said, dropping her bag and moving to wash her hands at the sink. "Worse. I'm attempting to recreate my grandmother's osso buco." Julian gestured helplessly at the chaos surrounding him. "Turns out, cook until tender is not as specific as I need it to be." Luna laughed, the sound filling the kitchen with warmth. "What does the recipe actually say?" "That's the problem. There is no recipe, just my grandfather's notes in the margin of an old cookbook, and his handwriting looks like medical prescriptions. Lucky for you, I'm fluent in terrible handwriting." Luna moved to his side, studying the faded ink. "That says low and slow, like Sunday mornings with Amelia. And this word here, I think it's patience." Julian leaned closer, his chest warm against her back as he peered over her shoulder. "How did you figure that out?" Years of deciphering doctor's orders. Luna relaxed into his embrace, marveling at how natural this felt, being held while solving small problems together. "Plus, your grandfather was clearly a romantic. Look at these notes. Add wine like you're toasting to forever. Season with love and a pinch of hope." "He was obsessed with her," Julian said softly, his arms tightening around Luna's waist. Even after 50 years of marriage, he still looked at her like she hung the stars. "Is that what you want?" Luna asked, turning in his arms. 50 years of being obsessed with someone? With the right someone, his eyes found hers, and Luna saw something there that made her pulse quicken. "Yeah, I think I do." The timer chose that moment to interrupt, and they spent the next hour working together to salvage what turned out to be surprisingly delicious osso buco. They ate by candlelight, talking about Luna's challenging case that day, a 7-year-old with leukemia who'd asked if her hair would grow back curly like Luna's, and Julian's expansion plans for a boutique hotel in Savannah. "She sounds brave," Julian said, referring to Luna's young patient. "She is, but she's also scared, and she's trying so hard to be strong for her parents." Luna twirled her fork through the risotto Julian had somehow managed to perfect. "I keep thinking about what your grandmother wrote about finding magic in ordinary moments. That little girl, Sophie, she's been drawing pictures of everything she wants to do when she's better. Simple things like riding her bike, getting her ears pierced, teaching her baby brother to walk. She's making a list of beautiful, ordinary moments." "Exactly." Luna paused, studying Julian's face in the candlelight. "What would be on your list?" "My list?" Julian was quiet for a moment, considering waking up next to someone I love without checking my phone first, learning to make bread from scratch, teaching my kids to ride bikes. He met her eyes. "Growing old with someone who still laughs at my terrible jokes. Those are good ones." Luna felt something flutter in her chest at his mention of children, of growing old together. "What about you? What's on your list?" "Reading bedtime stories in different voices. Having a garden where I actually manage to keep things alive, Sunday mornings that last until Tuesday." Luna hesitated, then added quietly, "Being someone's first choice, not just when things are falling apart, but on ordinary, random Wednesdays." "Luna," Julian reached across the table, taking her hand, "you are my first choice. Every day, every random Wednesday, every moment I get to choose who I want to be with." The words hit her like a physical force, and Luna felt tears prick her eyes. "Really? Really? You're not just someone I care about. Luna, you're becoming the person I can't imagine my life without." After dinner, they moved to the couch, Luna curled against Julian's side while he read aloud from his grandmother's journals. This had become their evening ritual, his voice steady and warm, her fingers tracing patterns on his chest, both of them lost in Amelia's observations about love and life. Tonight's entry was different, though, more personal. Vincent asked me today if I was ready to marry him. Not just ready to say yes, but ready to build a life together. Ready to choose him every morning, even when he leaves dishes in the sink and snores too loudly and forgets to put gas in the car. Ready to love not just the version of him that makes my heart race, but the version that's grumpy before coffee and anxious about money and sometimes too proud to ask for help. Julian's voice caught slightly as he continued reading. I told him yes, because I've learned that real love isn't about finding someone perfect. It's about finding someone whose imperfections feel like home, someone whose worst days don't scare you away, and whose best days make you grateful you get to witness them. Is that what this is? Luna asked quietly, learning each other's imperfections? I hope so. Julian set the journal aside, his fingers finding their way into her hair. Because I want to know all of you. Luna. The version that stays up too late studying and gets cranky when you're hungry and cries during commercials with puppies. Luna laughed, tilting her head to look at him. I don't cry during puppy commercials. You cried during that insurance commercial last week. The one with the golden retriever. That was different. That dog was clearly a very good boy. See, this is what I mean. Julian's smile was soft, adoring. I want to know why you think some dogs are particularly good boys. I want to learn your coffee preferences and your fears and the way you look when you first wake up. What if some of my imperfections are really annoying? What if some of mine are? Luna considered this. In the months they'd been together, she'd learned that Julian left coffee mugs everywhere, had an irrational fear of butterflies, and got genuinely anxious when restaurants changed their menus. She'd also learned that he remembered every story she told him, sent her pictures of sunsets when she was working late shifts, and had programmed the coffee maker to start brewing at 5 to 45 a.m. because he'd noticed she was always rushing in the mornings. I steal your t-shirts, she admitted, and I've been using your expensive face wash because it smells like you. I've been buying extra face wash specifically, so you don't run out. Really? Really. Also, I love that you steal my t-shirts. Sometimes I leave them on the chair on purpose because you look better in them than I do. Luna felt that familiar flutter in her chest, the one that had been growing stronger and more constant over the past few weeks. It felt dangerously close to a word she wasn't quite ready to say out loud. Julian, she said, I think I'm falling in love with you. The words came out in a rush, unplanned and terrifying and absolutely true. Julian went very still beneath her, and for a moment, Luna wondered if she'd said too much too soon. Then he cupped her face in his hands, his thumbs brushing across her cheekbones. I think I fell in love with you that first night on the terrace, he said quietly, when you trusted me with something so precious. I just didn't know if I was allowed to say it yet. You're allowed, Luna whispered. You're so allowed. When he kissed her this time, it was different from all their previous kisses, deeper, more certain, filled with the weight of words finally spoken. Luna felt something shift inside her, like a door opening to a room she'd never dared to explore. I love you, Julian murmured against her lips. I love your terrible morning hair, and your brilliant mind and the way you see beauty in everything. I love how brave you are, how kind, how you make me want to be the best version of myself. I love you too, Luna said, the words feeling both foreign and familiar on her tongue. I love how patient you are, how you listen to my stories about work, how you make me feel safe enough to want things I never thought I could have. They held each other in the soft light of his living room, both understanding that something fundamental had shifted between them, not just the words, but the permission they gave each other to imagine a future together. So, what happens now? Luna asked. Now we keep learning each other. Keep building this thing between us. Julian pressed a kiss to the top of her head. Keep adding to our lists of beautiful ordinary moments. I want to add something to my list, Luna said. What's that? This, right here, being held by someone who loves me exactly as I am. Consider it, added. Julian said softly, along with about 1,000 other moments I want to have with you. As they settled deeper into the couch, Luna's head on Julian's chest and his arms around her, both of them knew they'd crossed a threshold they couldn't uncross. But instead of feeling scared, they felt ready to love imperfectly and completely, ready to choose each other on random Wednesdays and difficult Mondays and every ordinary, extraordinary day in between, ready to discover just how beautiful a life built together could be. Love doesn't follow timelines, but hearts do. Luna woke up in Julian's bed on a lazy Saturday morning, sunlight streaming through the floor to ceiling windows and painting everything in shades of gold. She'd been staying over more frequently lately, 3 or 4 nights a week, and each morning she woke up a little more surprised by how right this felt. Julian was already awake, propped up on one elbow, watching her with that soft expression that still made her stomach flip, even after saying "I love you" had become as natural as breathing. "Good morning, beautiful," he murmured, pressing a gentle kiss to her forehead. "How long have you been awake?" "Not long. I was just thinking." "About what?" Luna stretched, enjoying the luxury of nowhere to be and nothing urgent to do. "About you. About us." Julian's fingers traced lazy patterns on her bare shoulder. She'd started sleeping in just his t-shirts and underwear. A level of intimacy that felt both thrilling and comfortable. "About how patient you've been with me. Learning to be in love." Luna turned to face him fully. Studying his expression, there was something different in his eyes this morning. A kind of quiet intensity that made her pulse quicken. "Patient with you, Julian. You've been nothing but patient with me." "I know, but I mean—" He paused, seeming to search for the right words. "I've never been in love like this before, never had someone I wanted to know completely, in every way possible." The words hung in the air between them, loaded with meaning. Luna felt heat bloom in her chest, along with something that might have been nervousness. "Every way?" she asked quietly. "Every way." His eyes found hers, serious and warm. "But only when you're ready, only when it feels right for you." Luna was quiet for a moment, her heart racing. They'd been dancing around this conversation for weeks. Stolen kisses that left them both breathless, touches that lingered just a little too long, moments when the air between them felt charged with possibility. "What if I'm scared?" she whispered. "Then we talk about it. We go slow. We stop if you need to stop." Julian's hand found hers under the covers. "Luna, I would wait forever for you to be ready. There's no rush, no pressure, no timeline except yours. But what if I'm never ready? What if I'm too scared, or it's too weird, or I'm terrible at it?" Julian shifted closer, his forehead touching hers. "Then, we figure it out together. There's no wrong way to love someone, Luna. There's just your way, our way." Luna felt tears prick her eyes, not from sadness, but from the overwhelming safety she felt in his words, in his presence, in the way he looked at her like she was something precious. "I think about it," she admitted, "being with you like that. I want to. You just need to trust yourself as much as you trust me." The insight hit her like a revelation. It wasn't that she didn't trust Julian, she trusted him completely. It was herself she doubted. Her own ability to navigate something so intimate and unknown. "Yeah," she said softly, "that's exactly it." They lay in comfortable silence for a while, watching the morning light shift across the walls. Luna found herself studying Julian's face, the way his eyelashes caught the sunlight, the small scar above his left eyebrow from a childhood accident, the way his mouth curved when he was thinking. "Can I tell you something?" Luna said eventually. "Always. Sometimes, when you touch me, even just holding my hand or kissing me, I feel like I'm going to catch fire in the best way." She felt heat rise in her cheeks. "And then I get scared because it feels so intense. And I don't know what to do with all that feeling." Julian's breath caught. "Luna, I'm not saying I'm ready right now," she continued quickly. "But I'm saying I want to be ready. I want to figure out how to be brave enough to let you love me completely." "You're already brave enough," Julian said, his voice rough with emotion. "Trusting someone with your heart, the way you've trusted me, that's the bravest thing anyone can do. It doesn't feel brave, it feels terrifying." The best things usually do. Later that morning, they made breakfast together, Julian handling the eggs while Luna perfected what had become her specialty. Coffee that was somehow better than anything either of them could make alone. They developed this rhythm over the months, moving around each other in the kitchen, like dancers who'd rehearsed the steps 1,000 times. "I have an idea," Julian said as they settled at the table with their plates. "What if we planned a trip, just the two of us? Somewhere beautiful and private. No pressure for anything except spending time together." "Like where?" "There's a cabin I know in the San Juan Islands. It belongs to a friend, but he never uses it this time of year. It's right on the water, completely secluded. We could just be together, read books, cook dinner, watch the sunset." Luna felt something flutter in her chest. "That sounds perfect." "Yeah?" "Yeah. When were you thinking?" "Next month, after your final exams." The timing felt significant. After her exams would mean after one of the biggest stress points in her life was behind her. It felt like Julian understood that she needed to feel settled in other areas before she could be brave in this one. "I'd love that," Luna said. "But Julian?" "Yeah? Promise me that if we go and I'm still not ready, you won't be disappointed." Julian reached across the table, taking her hand in both of his. "Luna, I could spend a week with you just talking and holding hands and watching you read, and it would be perfect. The only thing that could disappoint me is if you felt pressured to be anyone other than exactly who you are. How are you real? Luna asked, marveling at this man who somehow always knew the right thing to say. I ask myself the same thing about you every day. That afternoon, they walked through Pike Place Market, holding hands and sampling everything, from fresh berries to artisanal cheese. Luna found herself taking mental snapshots of ordinary moments. Julian laughing at something a vendor said. The way he automatically moved to her outside when they walked near traffic, how he bought flowers from an elderly woman, simply because Luna had admired them. Penny for your thoughts? He asked as they sat by the water, sharing a container of salmon spread and crackers. I was just thinking about your grandmother's journals, about how she wrote that love lives in small moments. Luna leaned against his shoulder. This feels like one of those moments. Which part? All of it. The way you remember I like the seeded crackers better. How you bought those flowers because you saw me smile at them. The fact that you're content to just sit here with me, not trying to impress me or convince me of anything. Should I be trying to impress you? No. Luna laughed. That's the point. You just love me simply, without agenda. It's not simple at all, Julian said, pressing a kiss to the top of her head. Loving you is the most complex, beautiful, terrifying thing I've ever done. But the way I show it, that gets to be simple. As the sun began to set over Elliott Bay, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange, Luna felt something settle in her chest. Not readiness exactly, but a growing confidence that when readiness came, she would recognize it. Julian, she said, thank you for letting me figure this out at my own pace. Thank you for trusting me enough to figure it out with me. They sat in comfortable silence, watching ferries cross the Sound and seagulls dive for fish. Around them, the city hummed with its usual energy. But Luna felt like they existed in their own quiet bubble of contentment. I keep thinking about what you said this morning, Luna said eventually, about wanting to know me in every way possible. Yeah? I want that too. I want to know what it feels like to trust someone completely with my body, not just my heart. She paused, gathering courage. I want that person to be you. Julian turned to look at her, his expression soft and intense. When you're ready, when I'm ready, Luna agreed. But Julian, I think I'm getting there. Yeah? Yeah. And when I am ready, when that moment comes, I want it to be because I'm choosing it, not because I think I should or because enough time has passed. She met his eyes. I want it to be because I can't imagine giving that part of myself to anyone else. Luna. Julian's voice was rough with emotion. I love you so much. It actually hurts sometimes. Good hurt? The best hurt. The kind that reminds you you're alive. As they walked back to his truck, hands linked and hearts full, both of them understood that they were approaching something significant, not just physical intimacy, but a deeper level of trust and connection. And somewhere in the space between want and ready, between fear and courage, they were building something beautiful enough to last a lifetime. Sometimes, courage arrives quietly, like morning light through bedroom windows. Luna's final exams were behind her, and the ferry to Friday Harbor cut through calm waters under a sky so blue it looked painted. She stood at the rail next to Julian, wind whipping through her hair, watching the San Juan Islands emerge from the distance, like something from a dream. Nervous? Julian asked, his hand warm on her lower back. A little, Luna admitted. Good. Nervous, though, like standing at the edge of something beautiful. The cabin turned out to be everything Julian had promised, and more. Perched on a bluff overlooking the water, it was small and perfect, weathered cedar shingles, windows that seemed to capture every angle of light, and a stone fireplace that dominated the main room. The bedroom had a view of the Sound that made Luna catch her breath, and everywhere she looked, she saw spaces designed for intimacy and quiet connection. It's perfect, she said, setting down her bag and moving to the large windows. How did your friend end up with this place? Inheritance from his grandmother. She was a painter, said she needed somewhere the light could teach her new things. Julian moved behind her, his arms circling her waist. She would have loved your photography. Luna leaned back against his chest, feeling some of the nervous energy that had been building for weeks begin to settle. Here, away from the city and their everyday responsibilities, she felt like they could exist in their own timeline, their own rhythm. What should we do first? She asked. Whatever you want. We have 3 days with no agenda except being together. They spent the afternoon exploring the island, walking hand in hand through Roach Harbor and browsing the small shops in Friday Harbor. Julian bought Luna a vintage book of local wildflower photography, and she found him a small carved wooden compass that reminded her of his grandmother's poetry about finding direction in love, for when you forget which way leads to happiness, she said, pressing the compass into his palm. I don't think I'll need it as long as I have you, he replied, but she could see he was touched by the gesture. That evening, they cooked dinner together in the cabin's small kitchen, fresh salmon from the market and vegetables they'd picked up from a roadside stand. The sun set late, as it did in Pacific Northwest summers, painting the water in shades of rose and gold that made everything feel magical. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, Luna said as they sat on the cabin's deck with glasses of wine, watching the last light fade from the sky. What do you mean? Everything feeling so right. She turned to look at him. I keep thinking there has to be some catch, some reason why I can't have something this beautiful. Julian set down his wine glass, taking her hands in his. Luna, you deserve beautiful things. You deserve to be loved gently and completely. You deserve to feel safe enough to want more. I do want more, she said quietly. With you, I want everything. Everything? Everything. Luna felt her heart racing, but not with fear this time, with anticipation, with readiness that felt like sunrise after a long night. I want to give you all of me, Julian. I want to trust you with parts of myself I've never shared with anyone. Julian's breath caught, and she saw something shift in his expression, desire mixed with tenderness, want tempered by infinite patience. Are you sure? I'm sure. Luna stood, extending her hand to him. Will you come inside with me? The bedroom was softly lit by bedside lamps, the sound of waves against the shore creating a gentle rhythm beyond the windows. Luna felt nervous but not afraid, her heart beating fast with excitement rather than anxiety. We can still go slow, Julian said softly, his hands gentle on her face. As slow as you need, I know. But I don't want to go slow because I'm scared anymore. Luna's hands found the hem of his shirt. I want to go slow because I want to remember everything, every touch, every moment, every way you make me feel. When Julian kissed her this time, it was different from all their previous kisses, deeper, more certain, filled with the promise of everything they were about to discover together. Luna felt something open inside her, like a door she'd been holding closed, finally swinging wide. I love you, she whispered against his lips. I love you so much I feel like my heart might burst from it. I love you too, Julian murmured against her lips. More than I knew it was possible to love someone. They moved together with careful reverence, taking time to explore and discover, to whisper words of love and reassurance. Julian's hands were gentle and patient, his touch communicating the depth of his care for her. Luna had never imagined that intimacy could feel so safe and overwhelming at the same time. So completely right. You're perfect, Julian murmured against her skin. So perfect, Luna. Not perfect, she breathed. Just yours. Mine, he agreed, his voice rough with emotion. And I'm yours completely. When they finally came together fully, Luna understood why people wrote songs about this, why poets spent lifetimes trying to capture the feeling in words. It wasn't just physical connection. It was the complete surrender of two people who trusted each other with everything they were. Are you okay? Julian asked afterward, holding her close against his chest, both of them breathing hard and hearts racing. More than okay. Luna tilted her head to look at him, seeing her own wonder reflected in his eyes. I feel like I understand something about myself I never understood before. What's that? That I'm brave enough to be completely vulnerable with someone I love, that my body knows how to love yours, even though I've never done this before. She pressed a kiss to his chest, right over his heart, that this is what home feels like. Julian's arms tightened around her, and she could feel his heart beating against her cheek. You are incredible, he said softly. The way you trusted me, the way you let yourself feel everything. Luna, you're the strongest person I know. I don't feel strong. I feel changed. Good changed? The best changed. Luna propped herself up to look at him properly, like I've been holding my breath my whole life, and just now learned how to breathe. They lay together in the soft lamplight, talking quietly about everything and nothing, their bodies intertwined and hearts full. Outside, the sound of waves provided a gentle soundtrack to their whispered conversations. What are you thinking about? Julian asked, noticing Luna had gone quiet. Your grandmother's poetry, about finding the sacred in ordinary moments. Luna traced patterns on his chest. I don't think this moment is ordinary, though. I think this is the moment everything changed. Everything? Everything. The way I see myself, the way I understand love, the way I believe in tomorrow." She met his eyes. "The way I know without any doubt that I want to build a life with you." Julian's expression grew serious, intense. "Luna, I know we haven't talked about the future specifically, but lying here with you, I can't imagine wanting anyone else. Ever." Luna felt tears prick her eyes, but they were happy tears. "Is that crazy? To feel so certain after one perfect night? If it's crazy, then I'm crazy too." Julian cupped her face gently. "Because I've been thinking the same thing. Actually, I've been thinking about something else, too." "What?" Julian was quiet for a moment, his thumb tracing her cheekbone. "I've been thinking about asking you to marry me." Luna's breath caught, her heart suddenly racing for entirely new reasons. "Really? Really? Not right now. I want to do it properly, romantically, somewhere that means something to us. But Luna, I want you to know that this isn't just tonight for me. This is forever." Luna felt tears spill over, overwhelmed by the enormity of love she felt for this man who had waited for her, who had loved her so patiently and completely. "Ask me," she whispered. "What?" "Ask me now, here, in this bed where I gave you all of myself for the first time. Ask me to marry you, Julian." Julian's eyes widened, and Luna saw her own overwhelming love reflected there. "Luna Carter," he said, his voice shaking with emotion, "will you marry me? Will you let me love you for the rest of our lives?" "Yes," she said without hesitation. "Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes." When he kissed her this time, it was with the knowledge that they belonged to each other completely now, in every way that mattered, and as they held each other in the lamplight, both of them knew that this was the night their real life together began. Outside, the waves continued their ancient rhythm, and somewhere in the sound, they could almost hear Amelia Holt's voice whispering about the sacred beauty of two hearts choosing each other completely. The morning Luna graduated from medical school, she woke up in Julian's arms with sunlight streaming through their bedroom windows, and the quiet certainty that her life was exactly where it was meant to be. 6 months had passed since their engagement on the island, and in that time, everything and nothing had changed. They still had their morning coffee ritual, still read Amelia's journals together in the evenings, still discovered new ways to love each other every day. But now there was a ring on Luna's finger, a simple solitaire that caught the light like captured starfire, and plans taking shape for a future that felt both thrilling and inevitable. "Good morning, Doctor." "Carter," Julian murmured against her hair, his voice warm with sleep and pride. "Not yet," Luna laughed, turning in his arms. "I don't officially become Dr. Carter until this afternoon. You've been Dr. Carter in my heart since the day I met you," he said, pressing a gentle kiss to her forehead. "Today just makes it official." Luna felt tears prick her eyes, happy tears that had become embarrassingly common since their engagement. "I can't believe it's actually happening. Your mom's going to cry through the entire ceremony. She's been crying since we told her about the engagement. I think she's just permanently emotional now." Luna smiled, thinking of her mother's reaction when they'd surprised her with the news. Clara had taken one look at the ring, then at Julian's face, then burst into tears while declaring she'd never seen two people more meant for each other. Can you blame her? Her daughter is marrying a man who loves her and becoming a doctor. That's pretty cry-worthy. The graduation ceremony was held at Seattle Center, with families packed into folding chairs and the late spring air filled with the sound of cameras clicking and proud voices calling out names. Luna spotted her mom in the third row, already dabbing at her eyes with tissues, sitting next to Julian, who looked devastating in a dark suit and had somehow managed to secure front-row seats despite the ceremony being sold out. When her name was called, Luna walked across the stage feeling like she was floating. 4 years of studying, countless sleepless nights, more coffee than any human should consume, and moments when she'd wondered if she was strong enough to make it through all of it had led to this moment. Luna Carter, Doctor of Medicine, Pediatrics. The crowd erupted, but Luna could hear Julian's voice above all the others, whooping like he was at a baseball game instead of a medical school graduation. She caught his eye from the stage and saw him wiping away tears he probably thought no one would notice. Later, at the small celebration dinner Julian had arranged at their favorite Italian restaurant, Luna found herself looking around the table at the people who mattered most. Her mom, glowing with pride and wearing the dress Luna had bought her for the occasion. Dr. Ellison, who'd made the drive from the hospital to celebrate with one of the finest pediatric residents he'd ever trained. Mrs. Romano, who'd closed the restaurant early so she could attend, and who kept patting Luna's cheek and calling her Figlia. "I want to make a toast," Julian said, standing and raising his wine glass. To Luna, who taught me that the bravest thing you can do is let someone love you completely, who shows me every day what it looks like to care for others with your whole heart, and who is going to make the most incredible doctor, because she already makes the most incredible everything else. To Luna, the table chorused, and Luna felt overwhelmed by the abundance of love surrounding her. Wait, she said, standing as well. I have something to say, too. The table quieted, all eyes on her. A year ago, I thought love was something that happened to other people, something too risky, too complicated, too scary for someone like me. Luna's voice caught slightly. Then I met this man who saw beauty in my caution, who loved my questions instead of just wanting answers, who made patience feel like the most romantic thing in the world. She turned to Julian, whose eyes were bright with unshed tears. You didn't just love me, Julian. You taught me how to love myself enough to believe I deserved someone like you. She gestured around the table. And now I have this incredible life, surrounded by people who choose to love me, about to start my dream career, engaged to my person. Her voice broke. I don't know what I did to deserve all this happiness, but I'm grateful every single day. You deserved it by being exactly who you are, Clara said softly, my brave, beautiful daughter who was worth waiting for. As the evening wound down and they said goodbye to their guests, Luna found herself alone with Julian on the restaurant's small patio, the same place where they'd shared countless quiet conversations over the past year. So, Dr. Carter, Julian said, pulling her close, how does it feel? Surreal, amazing, terrifying. Luna leaned into his embrace, like the beginning of everything I've ever wanted. What's the scariest part? Luna was quiet for a moment, thinking, starting my residency next week, being responsible for tiny humans' lives, making decisions that matter. She paused, wondering if I'm really ready for all of it. You're ready, Julian said with absolute certainty. You've been ready since the day you decided to trust me with your heart. That took more courage than anything medicine will ask of you. You really think so? I know so. And Luna, those kids you're going to take care of, they're the luckiest kids in the world to have you as their doctor. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the city lights twinkle beyond the restaurant's garden. Luna found herself thinking about all the moments that had led them here. The charity dinner where they'd met. Their first dinner at this very restaurant. The night she'd told him she was falling in love with him. The morning she'd woken up in his arms, knowing she wanted forever. Can I tell you something? Luna said. Always. That first night, when I told you I'd never been with anyone, I was terrified you'd think I was too inexperienced, too complicated, too much work. And now, I realized that telling you was the bravest thing I'd ever done. And your response, the way you made it feel like a gift instead of a burden, that's when I knew you were different. Julian's arms tightened around her. You were never too much work, Luna. You were worth every moment of patience, every careful step, every conversation about boundaries and feelings and what you needed. Even when I cried during that movie about the dog, especially then, though, in my defense, that dog was particularly heartbreaking. Luna laughed, tilting her head back to look at him. I love you so much it still scares me sometimes. Good scared or bad scared? Good scared, the kind that reminds me how lucky I am. Luna stood on her tiptoes, pressing a soft kiss to his lips, the kind that makes me excited about forever. Speaking of forever, Julian said, his expression growing serious, I know we've been talking about a spring wedding, but there's something I want to ask you. What? What would you think about getting married at the cabin where we got engaged? Luna's breath caught. Really? I know it's small, and we wouldn't be able to invite many people, but that place feels sacred to us. It's where you became mine, and I became yours. Completely, Julian. Luna felt tears gathering again. That's perfect. That's so perfect. I can't believe I didn't think of it myself. So that's a yes? That's a yes to everything. Yes to the cabin. Yes to a small wedding. Yes to spending the rest of my life with you. Luna cupped his face in her hands. Yes to building something beautiful together, one ordinary, extraordinary day at a time. When Julian kissed her this time, it was with the knowledge that they'd found their way to each other through patience and trust, and the kind of love that grows slowly and lasts forever. Around them, the city hummed with its usual energy, but Luna felt like they existed in their own perfect bubble of contentment. Dr. Luna Carter, Julian murmured against her lips. Soon to be Dr. Luna Holt, she corrected, and felt his smile against her mouth. I love the sound of that. Me, too. As they walked home through the Seattle streets, hands linked and hearts full, Both of them understood that this was what happiness looked like, not a destination you arrived at, but a choice you made every day with the person you loved most. And somewhere in the gentle rhythm of their footsteps, in the comfortable silence between two people who knew each other completely, they could almost hear Amelia Holt's voice whispering about the sacred beauty of love that grows like morning light. Slowly, inevitably illuminating everything it touches. 3 years later, Dr. Luna Holt still took pictures of ordinary moments. But now her Instagram was filled with different kinds of magic. The steam rising from 2 coffee cups on a sun-drenched kitchen counter, wedding rings catching morning light on a nightstand, a child's drawing taped to the refrigerator, not her own child yet, but one of her young patients who'd drawn her, the doctor with the pretty smile, who made the scary things not scary anymore. This particular Saturday morning found Luna in the kitchen of their new house, a craftsman bungalow in Queen Anne with a garden. She was slowly learning to keep alive and windows that seemed designed to catch every possible ray of Seattle sunshine. Julian sat at the breakfast table, reading weekend emails, while she perfected what had become her Saturday ritual, blueberry pancakes from Amelia's handwritten recipe collection. "Dr. Vargas called," Julian said, looking up from his phone. "Sophie's latest scans are completely clear. 6 months cancer-free." Luna's face broke into a radiant smile. Sophie was the 7-year-old who'd asked about her hair growing back curly, the same little girl who'd inspired Luna's Instagram post about finding magic in ordinary moments. Over the past 2 years, Luna had watched her fight through treatment with a courage that humbled every adult around her. She's going to be so excited. She's been planning her "I Beat Cancer" party for months. Luna flipped a pancake with practiced ease. Her mom said she wants to invite the entire pediatric ward. Sounds like Sophie. It does. Luna paused, spatula in hand, feeling that familiar swell of gratitude for the life she'd somehow been brave enough to build. "Sometimes I can't believe this is my job, getting to be part of these kids' stories, watching them fight and win and grow up to be incredible humans." "You're incredible at it." Julian stood, moving behind her to wrap his arms around her waist. "Dr. Ellison told me yesterday that you're the most naturally gifted pediatric resident he's seen in 20 years. He did not say that." "He absolutely did. Right after he mentioned that Seattle Children's is hoping to offer you a permanent position when your residency ends." Luna leaned back against his chest, marveling at how this still felt new. Even after 3 years of marriage, 2 years of living in this house, countless mornings of this exact routine. "What did you tell him?" "That my wife makes her own decisions about her brilliant career, but that I'm pretty sure Seattle's grown on her." "Seattle's definitely grown on me." Luna turned in his arms, studying his face. "Or maybe it's just that home is wherever you are." "That's very romantic, for someone who claims not to be a romantic." "I never claimed not to be a romantic. I claimed to be practical." Luna stood on her tiptoes, pressing a soft kiss to his lips. "Marrying you was the most practical decision I ever made." "How do you figure?" "Because loving you makes everything else easier. Work, life, figuring out who I want to be. It's all simpler when I know I get to come home to you every night." They ate breakfast on their back deck, surrounded by the garden. Luna had been slowly coaxing into bloom. The tomatoes were finally ripening. The herbs had survived her early overwatering attempts, and the flower bed along the fence was a riot of color that changed with each passing week. "I got a call from my publisher yesterday," Julian said, cutting into his pancakes. "They want to do a second printing of the cookbook." 6 months ago, Julian had surprised everyone, including himself, by publishing a collection of his grandmother's recipes, along with the stories behind them. Amelia's Kitchen. Love Letters in Food had started as a private project, a way to preserve family memories, but had somehow resonated with thousands of readers looking for connection and tradition in their own kitchens. "That's amazing. How do you feel about it?" "Grateful. Overwhelmed. Like I'm carrying on something important." Julian paused, his expression growing thoughtful. She would have loved knowing her recipes were helping people feel closer to the people they love. She would have loved knowing her grandson found someone to cook them for. She would have loved you. Period. Julian reached across the table, taking Luna's hand. "Sometimes I wish she could have met you, could have seen us together." "I think she did." "In a way." Luna squeezed his fingers. "Every time we read her journals, every time we cook one of her recipes, every time we remember what she wrote about love, she's here with us." That afternoon, they drove to the San Juan Islands, taking the ferry to Friday Harbor for their annual pilgrimage to the cabin where they'd gotten engaged. It had become a tradition, spending their wedding anniversary weekend in the place where they'd first discovered what forever felt like, The cabin looked exactly the same, weathered cedar shingles and windows that captured every angle of light, but Luna and Julian had changed in all the best ways. They moved through the space with the easy familiarity of 3 years together, unpacking groceries and settling into the rhythm that had become second nature. "Remember our first night here?" Luna asked as they sat on the deck with glasses of wine, watching the sun begin its slow descent toward the horizon. "You mean when you asked me to come inside with you, and I nearly had a heart attack from sheer joy?" "That's the one." Luna laughed, leaning against his shoulder. "I was so nervous I thought I might throw up. You were perfect, brave, and beautiful, and perfect. I felt like I was stepping off a cliff." "And now?" Julian asked. "Now I feel like I learned how to fly." As the sky painted itself in shades of rose and gold, they talked about everything and nothing. Luna's patients, Julian's hotels, the trip to Italy they were planning for their 4th anniversary, the house renovations they kept meaning to start. "Can I tell you something?" Luna said as the first stars began to appear. "Always. I've been thinking about what you said last month about kids." Julian went very still beside her. They'd been talking more frequently about starting a family, casual conversations that had been growing more serious as Luna's residency progressed, and their life together felt increasingly settled. "I think I'm ready to start trying. Not right away, but maybe in the next year or so." Luna turned to face him fully. "I want to have babies with you, Julian. I want to teach them to cook Amelia's recipes and read them her poetry and show them what it looks like when two people choose each other every single day." Julian's expression was soft with wonder and something that looked like barely contained joy. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure. Scared, but sure. The good kind of scared. The kind that reminds you you're alive." "Exactly." Luna cupped his face in her hands. "The kind that means you're about to have something beautiful." When Julian kissed her this time, it was with the weight of dreams shared and futures imagined. Around them, the island settled into evening quiet, and Luna felt that familiar sense of rightness, of being exactly where she belonged. "I love you so much," Julian murmured against her lips. "Sometimes I still can't believe you chose me." "I didn't just choose you once," Luna said softly. "I choose you every morning when I wake up, every evening when I come home, every moment when I could look anywhere in the world, and I choose to look at you." Later that night, as they lay in the cabin's bedroom with the sound of waves providing their soundtrack, Luna found herself thinking about the woman she'd been 3 years ago. Scared, careful, convinced that love was too risky for someone like her. "What are you thinking about?" Julian asked, sensing her contemplation. "That girl who met you on the terrace. How terrified she was of wanting something she might not get to keep. And now, I know that the only thing scarier than wanting something beautiful is never being brave enough to reach for it." Luna pressed a kiss to his chest, right over his heart. "Thank you for making me brave enough. Thank you for being worth the wait." As they held each other in the soft darkness, both of them understood that they'd built something rare, a love without hurry, without pressure, without anything but the simple desire to know each other completely and choose each other daily. And somewhere in the gentle rhythm of waves against the shore, in the comfort of two hearts that had learned to beat in sync, they could almost hear Amelia Holt's voice whispering about the sacred beauty of love that grows like morning light, slowly, inevitably illuminating everything it touches. 3 years ago, Luna had been afraid to want this. Now she couldn't imagine wanting anything else. The poetry of their forever was still being written, one ordinary, extraordinary moment at a time. What does your version of happily ever after look like? Not the fairy tale ending, but the beautiful, ordinary life you'd build with someone you love.